In this section, we will be working with parallel and perpendicular lines. Now, some definitions to get us started here. Two lines are parallel if they never ever intersect. So two lines are parallel if they go on forever and ever and never ever cross. All right, so parallel lines, there's some that are increasing, they could be decreasing, but they never ever cross. That's what it means to be parallel. Now, perpendicular lines will cross. They will cross at one single point, and where they cross, it is a right angle. It is a 90-degree angle. That's the definition of perpendicular lines. So knowing this, down here we're asked the slopes of perpendicular lines are what? Now if you think about it, perpendicular lines will never ever intersect. They will never ever cross. Their slopes are exactly the same. By definition, parallel lines have the same slope. Now we're going to need this information in example 1. We're asked to give the equation of the line passing through the point 8,3 that is parallel to a given line. Here we have y equals negative 2x plus 3, and we need that. Remember, we can find the equation of a line given 2 points or given a point and a slope. So there's a piece of information here that we need. We have 1 point, and if we know that the line we want is parallel to a given line, we know that their slopes have to be the same. The slope of the given line is negative 2. So we know that the slope of our line will also be negative 2. So we're looking for an equation of a line in slope-intercept form, and we already know the slope. Y equals negative 2x plus b. Because they're parallel, we know the slopes are the same. Now, looking at this line here, this plus 3 really isn't going to help us out any. We're not going to be using it. All we need is the slope. So now I'm going to plug in my ordered pair. So 8, 3, plugging that in. The 3 goes in for y, the 8 goes in for x. So we have negative 2 times 8 plus b. Working it out, 3 equals negative 2 times 8 is negative 16 plus b. Adding 16, adding 16. 3 plus 16 is 19, and we have b. Putting it together, we have y equals negative 2x plus 19. Now moving on to perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines cross and they meet at a right angle. What you'll find is that the slopes of perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals of each other. So I'm just going to write down here opposite reciprocals of each other. All right, so just to kind of get warmed up here, if line 1 is perpendicular to line 2, then relating their slopes, if line 1 has a slope of 2/3, line 2 has a slope that is the opposite reciprocal of that, meaning that because the slope here is positive, the slope of line 2 is going to be negative. That's what we mean by opposite. The signs are opposite. And then reciprocals, line 1 has a slope of 2/3. That means line 2 has a slope of negative 3/2. If the slope of line 1 is 5, in order to find the reciprocal, you want to think of it as a fraction. So 5/1. So the slope of line 2, first of all, is going to be negative, because it's opposite. And then the reciprocal of 5/1 is 1/5. If the slope of line 1 is negative 8, because the slope is negative, we know that our slope is actually going to be positive. And the reciprocal of 8 is 1/8. For this last one, we have negative 4/5. So since the slope of line 1 is negative, the slope of line 2 has to be positive. The reciprocal of 4/5 is 5/4. So that's the process we need to go through to find the slope of perpendicular lines. So in example 2, we have the same point, 8, 3, this time perpendicular to, and the given line is the same as well, y equals negative 2x plus 3. So here, since the slope of the given line is negative 2, we know that our slope has to be the opposite reciprocal of that. So y equals mx plus b. We know that the slope of the given line is negative 2. So our slope is going to be a positive 1/2, the opposite reciprocal. So now, plugging that in, y equals 1/2 x plus b. All that is left to do is figure out b. So replacing y with 3 and x with 8, we can solve for b. 3 equals 1/2 times 8 is 4, plus b, subtracting 4, 3 minus 4 is negative 1, equals b. Putting it together, y equals 1/2 x minus 1.